Not yet. Here we go. Hello, lovers.
Hello, lovers. I got too excited. I started before we were live.
Oh my goodness.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see steam rising, which looks like I'm doing something witchy in my cauldron, but no, it's coffee. But I mean, it's a potion, right?
Yes. I don't know why my hair is like this today, but maybe. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I made it even worse.
Oh, well, luckily the listeners won't have to look at our hair.
The listeners.
Mine's looking great. Look at these. Got some good curl definition going on.
The listener can listen to my hair. They are feeling.
They heard it.
What a huge.
They heard it. They heard it.
All right, let's start. Hello, lovers. Welcome to Hacks in the City, episode number 4. And we have 4 people watching right now. Woohoo!
That's a perfect number. A little Saturday afternoon. 4-4.
5 people.
Episode.
There are 5 people watching now.
Oh, well, that's even better. Get it better than 5, because all the 5s in the tarot are. Get it to 6. It'll be 7 if we count us. So that's fine.
Oh, Drew is here.
Fantastic. Drew and I were just hanging out the other night doing tarot via Zoom. He has that beautiful deck, that very beautiful minimalist deck.
And we have White Tupac is here. Hello, White Tupac. And we have I am Spongy. I'm Spongy. Andy.
I'm Spangish. I'm Spangies.
Spangies? Okay, we have 6 people now, so we can.
I don't know who that is. Okay, perfect. So 6 is perfect. So welcome to Hex in the City, a rewatch podcast and YouTube show during which we watch episodes of Sex in the City one by one, do tarot and oracle readings about the episode, and discuss relevant issues. So episode 4 is called Valley of the 20-something Guys, I think. Is it guys? Yeah. And the gang, the three out of 4 are all dating men in their 20s. So they have some interesting shenanigans.
Right. Oh my goodness. For those who are watching right now my channel on the Cusp Tarot. So for those who are watching, you need to go to subscribe Miss Stella Speak on podcast. And for those who are listening, you figure out a way how to transfer the video audio into the podcast. You are such a techie.
I know, right? I was so proud of myself. I was so worried about this, and then after I did a little Googling, there was a very easy way to make it happen. So
amazing. So for those who are listening, remember to jump over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel on the Cusp Tarot.
On the Cusp Tarot, which will be in my show notes. Just a little description box below in the podcast app. All right, so let's get to it. Today I am switching it up. This is a deck that I use. There's some thread here from a project I'm working on. I use this deck pretty much only on full moons. It's called The Gospel of Aradia Tarot. The artwork is by Jimmy Manson, who collaborates with Stacey DeMarco, who's the deck writer and designer. I've been using her Halloween Oracle deck. I think I might have used that last time. This is another one of my favorite decks. So it's based on The Gospel of Aradia, which is a book by Charles Leland, I believe, in like the 1800s. And it's supposedly he interviewed a real witch who did, like Italian witchcraft from back in the day. And she told him all about Aradia, who's a kind of almost like a witchy Christ avatar type figure. So her mom is the moon and her dad is Lucifer. and then they make a baby, and that's a Radia. And then she comes, I know, and then she comes down to Earth, and her job on Earth is kind of like Jesus, but of witches in Italy. So she like gathers the witches together, teaches them witchcraft, and they fight against the rich people and like poison the rich and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah. So that's your mythology of the day. So kind of girl powery, I don't know. And I just like to use it on the full moon because Diana is a moon goddess. So
I am using the good old, I'm sticking with it, the Muse Tarot.
I love it.
Sex in the City. So for those who are listening for the first time or watching the first time, I hope you're not. So the first part of the program is we draw one card from our chosen deck and kind of reflect on the card with the episode. So if you have a deck, if you do want to draw a card also, and if you also watch the episode, you're more than welcome to play the game.
Okay, I've got mine.
What kind of shuffler are you?
Shuffler?
Yeah.
I'll show you. Pretty standard. So I cut in half here. I'll move my. Then I guess it's called a riffle, isn't it? Just like this.
Yeah.
I do that, except for there for a while. I used to corner shuffle. Do you ever see people do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be a little gentler on the deck, so it's kind of like that, and then just kind of gently in, but it's kind of a mess. Then I'll usually shuffle 3 to 4 times, and then I cut either in half or I cut in thirds. If I cut in half, I read from the center, obviously. Usually if I cut in thirds, I'm working with another person and I'll have them choose like left, middle, or right, and then whatever the card is. We'll start from there.
Interesting.
Unless I do an opening of the key. Do you know how to do the opening of the key?
What? No. Yes, maybe.
I'll show you sometime. It's wild. It's wild.
Okay.
I'll show you.
So Drew in the chat just drew a card. I got my card. What was your card?
My card?
Mm-hmm.
I drew a card called Resistance, and you see there's a ritual knife wound around with, it's either a snake or it's some sort of branch, and then there's a leaf behind it, and it's all illuminated by something that looks kind of like a harvest moon like we just had.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it says Resistance. And then I guess this is Italian below, and it says Obstancia. No, that must be Latin because of the T, I think. But I'll look up what it means. But intuitively, it's this resistance to what you want. And having to, it kind of reminds me of the swords, like cutting through a little bit, like having to cut through all of the societal stuff around it. And it's like, why do you feel the need to have to justify what you like and who you want to be with and all that kind of stuff?
I have number 20, Awakening.
Ooh.
Look at her. But okay, at first I'm like, what do you mean awakening? This episode is more leaning towards, yes, of course, everything is awakening, right? Like literally everything is awakening. And I don't want to go with the easy way out. Because like,
right.
oh, Harry, awaken, finally.
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna do this one really leaning on Samantha.
Oh yeah.
Yep, really leaning on Samantha, and we'll talk. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to talk about it because everybody watched it.
Go ahead.
Because that moment when she was in bed and with the 20-something guy, and Greek sex on top, behind, reverse, upside down, whatsoever, and then the pretty guy said that I just love the way you're laying down right now because I can see the wrinkles on your neck. And then she was like, okay, I am done. No more 20 something guy. Time to move on. I will always be the older one. It was literal, and she was like, immediately. It was such an awakening moment, and I'm sticking to that. That's that.
It makes me think of, and I think someone, Hector and Tiger's Abyss both mentioned Carrie had kind of a similar awakening. Like hers is so literal. Yeah. Like she has her night of passion, and then she like wakes up in the morning is like
awake.
Oh, I am in a 20-something apartment. There's pizza everywhere. There's a roommate. There's no toilet paper. Like this is a frat house in the middle of the city. What am I doing here? What did I get myself into?
So crazy. Okay, so some people are in the chat right now. I just want to say hi. So Drew is here. Carnell, I can never say the name right. Help me out. Carnell.
It might be Carol. I'm not sure if it's Carell.
Carell. Lady Knight of Avalon is here. Welcome, welcome. Tigers of Bliss is here. And then, of course, Hector Rebrocta. I can't say the name. Miranda. I'm saying. And then, so Drew also drew a card. Drew a card. The Eight of Wands. This episode was moving fast.
Yeah.
This episode was like fast. It was so fast paced. I was like, I couldn't keep track of everything.
That was one of my favorite moments from the episode is the Charlotte portion when she gets this phone call. Yeah, and Carrie gets the phone. She's like, I'm out the door. I only have 4 minutes. And then you just hear her say, I'll be at your apartment in 10 minutes. And you're like, oh.
And then they go
pick up. Intrigued. And then she's like, we're picking up Miranda Smith on the way. Like, it's a huddle. Like, girls assemble. Avengers assemble. Like,
and that is the funny thing about this. We all love fiction. We all love the way that they write. The money on that cab fare, that's the Capricorn in me. I'm like, that is $100 cab fare right there. Picking up her, going back to the west side, going uptown, back to downtown.
You're listening. You're like, where are we going? We just crossed all over the city. We're not on the way to the bar. Like, what is happening? What is happening? It's like, do you remember when About Schmidt was filming here? Because Alexander Payne's from Omaha, and so he's filmed some of his movies here. And he was filming About Schmidt. And, I was like, oh, they filmed this here and they filmed this here. And I forget exactly what happens. But there's a time in About Schmidt where he goes to Dairy Queen and he goes somewhere else in Omaha. And his wife had told him, like, don't dilly-dally before he leaves. And then you see him, he just like goes on a couple errands and he comes back. And if you're from Omaha, it's hilarious because he like drove all over the city. He was like out in because the Dairy Queen's out in Millard and the something else is somewhere else. And I was like, who would do that? Because at the time when I watched it, I was like, who would do that? But I'm like, oh, it's like an inside joke for the Omaha people to be like, oh yeah, he was all over the place. Yeah.
And this is a funny saying about, we're completely off track now. Everything in Omaha takes 20 minutes. It is true. Everything in Omaha takes 20 minutes. You can get anywhere 20 minutes. That's it. That's the joke of Omaha, 20 minutes. Okay, what else? Knight of Wands. Very fitting for this episode. The
young guys with their wands.
Oh my God. I was
fiery young energy.
I was getting moist thinking about it. Oh, the 20s. Oh, girl. I use that. Tigers of Bliss, Zach said that in the episode. I used the rest of the toilet paper for coffee filter. That was so nasty. I literally died.
We're over here like, French press, please. Like, filter. but
Right.
toilet paper.
Ew. Drew said that, yeah, I was reading in the cart, and the thing that struck with me was the hectic activity. It was so fast, this episode.
It was
Totally,
a really fast episode, yeah.
totally in at once. Okay, 15 minutes into the podcast, let's talk about the episode. And what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about, Miss Stella?
Okay, so I wrote subject. So the first thing that I thought of, I don't know if we want to go there, but
maybe I should start. Every single time, girl.
I'm already like, I have something I want to say, but I don't know.
Every single episode, you're pointing out, like, remember that it's not gonna fly with the Me Too movement. Like every single episode, is it about that type of thing?
No, it's not about that this time.
Go ahead. You go right ahead.
Okay. I know. Keep it light. So there's the part, and this is again, I'm not a perfect person. So the part where Charlotte says she had the three things she was looking for: looks, manners, and money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask you, what are your top three things that you look for in a person?
So not those three, my own top three.
Yeah, I'm not saying rank them. I'm like, if I was to ask you, hey, why? I just met 400 new guys. I need to narrow it down. Like, what are some of the things that you're looking for?
Personality. Well, personality is like really broad.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, what kind of personality?
Has to be genuine.
Okay.
Is that even a personality?
I mean, it's a characteristic, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It has to be loving, genuine, and kind.
Those are all really good.
But those are not like criteria though, because like she's like money, look.
Right. Hers are like a list, yeah.
Yeah, like
you can very easily quantify, like looks. I mean, everyone likes different things, but yeah. For me, yes. Money, that sounds like enough. Okay. Manners, yes.
And then that's the thing, like I can actually, it will be easier for me to, like, if I have to rank those three, I'll go first. But I used to be the look kind of guy. Like,
right.
Now. And then it kind of transitioned. I think we all were there. We all were
right.
We all kind of like when we were young, we always look first. That's what
right.
We kind of like the past, the personality, we always look first, right? But now it's like the inside, if I can actually laugh, if I can actually, have a conversation and intelligent, well, maybe not even intelligent, some kind of conversation.
Right. I love that.
What is yours?
Well, I have like a joke one, which is not really true. But I think if I'm being honest, I have to say like banter is at the top of the list. So it's like sense of humor, but I need to be able to be with the back and forth. Like I need to be able to say something funny and then you come back and then we make a joke of this and we refer to that and like quick, go. Very important.
Okay.
So banter, I have to have that. I don't know if it's a writer thing. I don't know if it's a sarcastic asshole thing. Like, I don't know, but I like that. Like, I love banter. That's my favorite part.
Okay.
Of like all that whole dating and like the flirty back and forth and like all of that. So that's super important. And then, oh gosh, I'd say some sort of undefinable niceness, like kindness. I like that. Only 3. I have to have.
See, it's difficult, right? When
you only have 3. I guess it's not that simple for me because it's like an energy thing, and that's why it's so interesting. If you look at the different people I've dated, and you're like
banter.
You're like how are these people similar to each other? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. There's an energy, like there's like a back and forth sort of soft strength that I really enjoy in a person.
You know what? Looking at, so I asked the room, say, what are your top threes on deciding, if that's a match or not a match, right? And Drew said that mine are compassion, honesty, and commitment. Honesty. Oh my goodness. Honesty, which also in this episode is the tricky game, is Mr. Big playing game. How honest is he, right? So that's
right.
Honesty, though. It is one of the biggest, which is so interesting. When I was I am gonna disclose my age possibly. When I was in my 20s, the quietness of relationship, the guessing part of the relationship was actually kind of fun in a way. Like we can be quiet with each other. I was able to be with, there's a saying, if you can be with your significant other or your partner and there will be silence and you're completely comfortable with it, that's the one, right? And I have those beautiful moments with my ex-boyfriend in the car. We don't talk, we're completely comfortable. But then there are also moments are like, I wonder what he's thinking. And those are the moments we need to check on. We need to pay attention to. It's actually more on those moments, because I feel like once we get to know each other, the uncomfortable silence will be gone. It will always be comfortable silence. It's what in the head that we need to pay attention to, either on ourselves and on your partner, right? Am I making it up? Or is it actually factual, like what Mr. Big is actually doing? Is it playing games?
Right. And that is so much. Like
so much.
I don't how do I say this? I like things to be relatively clear, And so I am not the kind of person who's like, hi, nice to meet you. Here's my 5-year plan, and I don't want kids, and I like cats, and blah 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 blah. Do you leave the toilet seat up? Do you do like I don't grill people. I just want it to naturally happen, right? But and this was hard, to be frank. This is for me the difficult part about dating women. Not that women are like sneaky or indirect. It's not that. It's just like, in my experience, it's very obvious if a guy likes you.
Okay.
They call you, they text you, they ask you out for a date. They ask to, like, when's the next time I'm going to see you? Like, it's very clear. And guys who are like big, I'm like, you have my phone number. Like, call me when you figure it out. Like I can't. Like, are we doing this or not? And I've been kind of like that from a young age.
Oh, girl. Girl. I want to date a straight man so bad. Maybe that's why. Because my experience, well, maybe my ex-boyfriend was bi, so he was leaning also, the communication was more leaning on that, when can I see you again, yada yada. About schedule-wise, it's very clear. But then the emotional stuff is shitty. You never really communicate on the emotional stuff, right? And then, like, lately, my dating game, I will be talking with someone on the phone for ages. So there's communication, but it's just service communication. It never gets to the meat.
Gotcha.
Which is
it's weird now too, with like all the distancing and stuff.
True. Very true. But at the same time, though, like, let's lean into the episode also. How many times, also in the chat, have you experienced that dilemma with Mr. Big? So the dilemma of Mr. Big is like always canceling, always like, oh, I can't do this. Oh, oops, sorry, this happened. And then you yourself have to kind of like justify, is he playing games? Is he not
Right.
really into me? Is he really actually have a commitment issue?
Right.
Afraid of just coming to the date? Like all these bubbling questions, right? How many of you actually been through that? And have you been through it?
Okay, my ex-husband canceled our first date.
And
Then we went on another date a couple
no,
days
actually,
later.
no. Let's go back to the first date. When he canceled, what was your reaction?
I was like, okay, so we had met at a bar just by chance, like that weekend. And he called me, maybe Monday or something. And he called me and was like, hey, let's go out. We make plans, right? And then he calls me and says he can't come that night because something was going on with his friend. Like his friend had just got dumped or something. And so I thought two things. I was like, okay, one, like maybe he's flaking and he doesn't want to go on this date. And if that's so, I was like, I'll give him a second chance. And if he shows up to the second date, then that's fine. But I was like, but if it was to happen a second time, I'm like, you just don't want to date me. Like, what are we doing? And then I did sort of think, like, if this is true, I kind of liked that about him. I was like, oh, like, you'd rather
take care of your friends
take care of your friend than go on a first date. Yeah. Like, and of course, like, after he got to know me a little bit more, I would kind of expect a little bit more of like to be put on a certain level. And it wasn't like he canceled, I guess. He just rescheduled. It was pretty proactive and everything. And I talked to him about it years later. He was like, oh my gosh, I was so scared. He was like, I was so scared that when I canceled, I was never going to see you again. But I'm trying to think. When I was dating recently after the divorce, I had a couple of flakes. I'm trying to think. One that I can think of, maybe two, where I had this plan to go out with this guy. And, two, yeah. Well, the second one's kind of my problem. But yeah, you just like, I'm getting ready and we were supposed to go meet up somewhere. And it's one of those things like we've been texting back and forth for days. And then the actual day of the date, he doesn't text me or anything. And I'm just like, all right, getting ready, whatever. And normally I would just go to the place and meet up. But I had this feeling like I'm going to go there and he's not going to be there. I just had a feeling. So I texted him like, hey, are we still planning on such and such time? Which is like half an hour or 20 minutes from when I texted him. He's like, well, actually, I just don't think I'm ready to date yet. And I'm so sorry. And you're so much fun and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow.
And okay, so which is I'm going to be a therapist right now. We'll lean into that. This is so fun. Immediately, do you feel bad about yourself, or you feel bad about the situation, or you just feel bad you are fucker, goodbye?
Okay. So we had met on Tinder. So we hadn't met in person yet. So I didn't take it personally.
Okay.
Now, if we had met in person, I would be like, oh, he doesn't like me, or oh, he has cold feet. But since I'm like, you've never met me before, like, I was just like, I think he just is one of those people who just likes to swipe and is like, wants to talk to people, but is like scared to actually meet people in person. Maybe. I don't know. He looked cute in his pictures, but he was really young.
Understandable. Understandable.
And then I had another one flake out, but that was a situation.
I'm wondering what it is with me. I always have like it's always chatting. never go through. Even when I say, "Hey, what are you doing on Friday? Let's have
Right.
lunch." And then they'll be like, "Yeah, maybe." And but they have like they would text me every day. They would
Right.
actually want to talk, and I'm like, "What is going on?" But now for me, it's like, I can't talk to you for 6 years, and then
Right.
what is it?
Yeah.
So,
No, I hate that. And that's really hard too when there's a bunch of them. Like, when you're kind of dating a lot of people, you have a lot of irons in the fire. And that's why the banter, I think, is so important to me. I love it in person. It's really important. But also, like, I can't have 20 guys on my phone. Hey, how's it going? What you doing? What's up? How are you? I'm like, boring. I'm like, I'm at work, guy number one. I'm at work. How are you? It's so obnoxious. I'm like, say something. Like, literally anything.
completely different from the gay world. Completely different from the gay world.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have a lot of drop off. Like it will be like, "How are you?" Yada yada yada. We talk, and then we like people would
Yeah.
disappear. There's a couple of them that left. That is worth keep talking, and then they never go through to a real day. That's my dilemma.
Right.
Welcome to my life. Okay, what were you gonna talk about at the beginning?
Oh,
Was that it? The 3 thing?
I have a different 3. If we want to talk about tarot cards, it's called a Devil's 3 of a kind.
Okay.
So it's when you have 666. So it's your 6 feet tall or taller. You make at least 6 figures. And then there's another 6.
It has to be 6 inches. And she fall off the screen.
That's a Devil's 3 of a kind. You've never heard of that?
No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that on my Grinder profile or my any dating OK Cupid, Tinder. If you do not meet 666, get out of my screen.
Don't have time. Just keep swiping.
6 feet or taller, 6
Mhm.
footer, 6
Mhm.
inches.
Yeah.
Check, and check. Do I make 6 figure? I think I do make 6 figure, I think. I'm not 6 feet. I'm 5'11".
Close enough.
Oh, great.
Straight man math, that's 6 feet. Put 6'1" maybe.
Great. So I only have 2. That's just sad.
Oh.
I can't date you.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well,
I
if
have 0 out of 3, so 5'7".
oh my God, what if I'm gonna do if I'm dating a woman? What is the last 6? Not 6 inches. 6. What would be the 6 for women?
I don't know. I don't think the money matters as much for them either.
That's true. 6 babies.
6 fewer babies. I don't know. You have fewer than 6.
6 wives. Yep. You have to agree that you're gonna have 6 wives. Yep.
Oh, if they're gonna do the housework, I'm fine with it. The other 5 can do all the adulting. I'm fine with it.
Okay, so
what else about the episode did I want to say? Oh, that moment. I really liked that part. I put it as a pull quote for some promo where Carrie says, "I forgot how much fun it is to just kiss." I thought that was really sweet.
Which also my talking point, tongue ring. Remember tongue ring?
Oh yes, the tongue rings.
That was so in back then.
And a lot of my friends had them who you wouldn't have expected.
I think the tongue ring is gonna come back.
Yeah.
Remember the 80s style is coming back right now? I think
Yeah.
tongue ring is gonna come back. So Drew in the chat said, I've been ghosted, and remember planning to meet someone I have met at Hero. Oh, Hero Sushi.
Oh, yeah.
I got there, got a table. We had texted right before I went inside. It was not fun.
Right before you went inside.
Mad at him. So my initial reaction was mad at him, and I got a roll, a martini, and some green tea ice cream. Girl, make your own fun. Make your own fun. I think I've got stood up once at AMC 24 Oakview. Note to that. Okay, so that's kissing. How much kissing?
What about how much kissing? What do you mean?
Like, is there such thing as too much kissing?
No.
Really?
I mean, I don't know.
I think we come to a conclusion for our purpose. Men versus women. Right now on my channel, you agree there's not too much kissing.
Like, what do you mean too much? Like in public? Or like, come on, we've been kissing for so long, like, I don't know what you mean by too much kissing.
The later.
I mean,
you will be actually completely
eventually.
but you will be okay and satisfied to just kiss for the whole night and not do anything.
For a while.
The listener will be like, why is that silence? The silence.
The silence is the shocked look.
Maybe it's a guy thing. Maybe
no, I'm not a fast mover. And I kind of like in the beginning, it's kind of fun to want.
Guys in the chat room, back me up. Is there too much kissing? I want to do things. Like, maybe it's a guy thing. Like, we just want to do things. Well, kissing is nice, but it's a whole night of kissing. I want to do something else. I don't know. Is it a bad thing? Girl. Drew said that for me, yes. There can be too much kissing. I think that's my Aquarius side. Hello, Aquarius. Either it goes somewhere or we need to refocus. Refocus. Too much
happening here?
What's
the agenda here?
But it is enjoyable, though. I do have to say, kissing for a long time, it is enjoyable. It is very pleasurable. Of course, there's such thing as too much kissing. When do we stop kissing?
I don't have a number for that.
Okay. I don't see, Lady Night. I don't mind a night of kissing.
I mean, they just met too, like, you know, so that's a fun night, you know, smooches out on the town.
But no, well, that's the thing though. Like, Carrie, there was an impression for me that Carrie was planning on. Remember that conversation between her and Miranda on the street, and they're like kissing. You know, like, I'm just trying him on in a way, right? So I wonder, which is my next talking point, because of that date of being her and Mr. Big, and then she has to say the new high, the new addiction. Like, kissing is not enough anymore.
Yeah, that's the whole metaphor of this, is that the younger guys are a drug and 3 of them are recreational users, but yeah.
Right. And then she needs to move on to the next level of the addiction, which was
right.
Right.
With them,
which is the second thing that I want to talk about. Addiction. What is your addiction?
How much time do you have?
All day. Well, let's narrow it down on relationship.
Okay.
Let's do 2 things: relationship and spirituality. Because there's an addiction for spirituality. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's like a poignant addiction of spirituality. So what is your addiction on both? On relationship, dating, sex, whatsoever, however you want to talk about, and spirituality.
Addiction, I don't know if I have a, what's my relationship addiction? I'm thinking.
I'll go first.
You go first. I don't know if I have one.
Straight man.
Oh, yeah.
Like clearly it's not a healthy thing for me.
Right.
Like, ooh, if in my 20s, I have spent so much time chasing straight men, and I have succeeded many, many times. I have slept with many, many straight men, and I'm very proud of it. But it is a bad thing because I will never get a relationship with a straight man.
Right.
Right.
There's something there, you know, some unattainability thing or some masculinity thing, some pride thing. I don't know, but yeah.
Right. So that's the deep working that I have to work on myself.
Right.
Like, I'm so proud of it. Like, oh, I slept with this straight married guy the other day. Oh, it was fabulous. I was literally Samantha.
Right.
It was. We have done it in the car, in the parking lot, in the movie theater. It was fabulous. But it was like it was never on my bed because there's a commitment issue with the man. Right.
Right.
So is it an addiction? Yeah. Is there something that I need to work on? Yes. Just like Carrie, just like Samantha, that we have to work through those things to get to the next journey, next point, right? And then for my spirituality is like, hello, collecting decks.
Right.
Do I need 5,000 tarot decks to be spiritual? No. You have 3 decks, you have 4 decks, and you're spiritual. Why do I need 5,000 decks to, like, I don't need that. But in some kind of twisted mind, I would feel like, oh, well, this deck can do this kind of reading. And, and then I feel a little bit more spiritual that way. Spirituality is within me. I don't need that to enrich it. But at the same time, there's a subconsciousness that giving reason to that addiction. You know what I'm saying? So turn the table, your turn.
Okay. So for relationships, I have one, and it's I like people who really like me. Meaning, like, I have kept people around in my life as friends, and I kind of knew that they liked me, and I really got an ego boost out of that.
I'm glad that we both have workings that we need to do. We are not perfect, ladies and gentlemen, and who those are watching and listening. We are not perfect. We're not preaching anything. It's just personal experience.
Right.
Talking about Sex in the City and reflecting on our own lives.
Right. And so for me, I don't think it's very conscious. I'm not like, oh, that person really likes me, I'm going to keep them around. I'm just like, oh, I like this person and we're friends and whatever. And I kind of feel like a flirty energy from them sometimes. And then I kind of push back, but I also kind of don't. Like, I don't think I've crossed lines exactly, but like, there have been a few times where I was talking through it with a friend of mine. It was like, yeah, this friend likes you, this friend likes you, this friend. I'm like, but they're just my friends. They just like me. And she's like, look, really? Why? She's like, this is the thing. I was like, oh my gosh.
Stella.
Think about it. And then spirituality.
But it's also natural to have to want to be like. Who doesn't want to be?
Yes, of course, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, well, I was talking to a different friend about it. It was like, well, just stop being friends with people who like you romantically. Just don't be friends with them. And then I was like, But I won't have any friends. She's
But
like, you are a megalomaniac. Like, not all of your friends are in love with you. I was like, I know.
But that's the dangerous line. Well, not dangerous. That's the line. Then I have to like that's crazy though. Then I have to cut off half of my friends because they
Right?
romantically want to sleep with me. Like, what do you mean?
Right. Yeah.
You can't do that.
This is our Libra moons talking right now. Like, I wasn't flirting. Well, maybe I was flirting. They like me, but I can't get rid of half my friends if I'm not friends with people who don't like me. So Libra moon problem right here.
Mic drop. Time to do some shadow work. Go walk in the woods. Touch some trees. Let's be real. Eat some dirt. Let's be dirty.
I guess my spiritual addiction is legitimacy.
Okay.
So like I pursued a pretty traditional coven to like get a title, right, to have a lineage, and like reading the right books and that kind of thing. And yeah, that's a thing. And there are some practices I do and some authors I really enjoy that I won't admit to liking out loud because
damn it.
I'm like, oh, they won't, they won't think I'm cool. That's not one of the good authors. I thought, yeah, legitimacy is my religious one, I think.
Which is a good segue in some point, because me and Stella has been talking how we don't want to just talk about the episode. We want to incorporate tarot and spells and witchcraft into this, right?
Right.
Now, I do want to ask you how, it might be a big question, but I don't care. How do you know it's legit?
Right.
How do you decide? What is your personal criteria on decide? Is this just a feeling, or do you actually go through and look at their background, how many books they have, written, their bibliography?
Right.
What is your choosing criteria?
For like a book?
For anything.
Or for practice or for. So it's so much. Like, okay, so first it will be, am I intuitively drawn to this thing?
Okay.
Right? And there have been some practices, especially in my traditional training, where I was kind of required to learn some things that I'm not naturally drawn to. Mm-hmm. And that was a good learning experience for me, Like Kabbalah, I was not interested, but yeah, so intuitively I'm interested, right? So I'm like, what is there about this? What's drawing me to this? Mm-hmm. And then like for a book, I will look at like a bibliography or the works cited, and I look back there and I'm like, okay, well, if they cite other things that I kind of already have kind of vetted, that's good. I'm not a publisher snob, so I mean, I'll read stuff published by Llewellyn or HarperCollins, like whatever. It doesn't have to be a certain publisher. But yeah, I mean, there does come a point too where there's like reputation, right? Like, oh, I've met this person, or I know that this person was at this conference or whatever, and so you kind of get to know like who you trust. Mm-hmm. But there's also a certain point where I have to kind of consider the message, not just the messenger, mm-hmm. which is complicated because you always want to make sure you're giving your money to things that you care about, and you don't want to support stuff you don't. And I know that's the tarot thing too, right? You're like, oh, it's a beautiful deck, but the last deck they made, they used some imagery that wasn't really okay or whatever, So it's like there's so many things to think about. And I mean, wow, people who are just coming into this stuff in 2020, like, my gosh, there's so much on the internet, like tarot. There's so much on the internet that you're like, where do I even start? Then this website says this card means this, but this one means that. And like, yeah, so it's like,
That is the one thing that I struggle with the most, because my practice was never, what is this? Never,
Academic?
yeah, thank you. It was never academic. It's always practical, generation through generation. So whatever I learned in my ritual is what I've seen my mom do.
Right.
You know, on the full moon, that's what you do. You talk
Right.
to your ancestor, you do offering. This is the way you do offering. You have this food and that food, right? It's never really like, it's never witchcraft, like casting a spell, but we do tell you, you know, if you want if you want to banish whoever talking, shit things about you, this is what you do, right? So I remember those things. But then, like you said, what is it? Not legitimacy. What is your addiction again?
I think I said legitimacy.
Yeah, like I can't, like, yeah, right. So then I'm like, when I read books, and then there's always a doubt. I'm like, that's your point of view, but is it real?
Right. And that's why I encourage people to just keep going. Like, some of my introductory books are not the books that I would recommend to someone, because people ask me, right? Like, oh, what book should I read? I'm sort of getting interested in witchcraft. Like, what would you recommend? And I never recommend the books that got me started, because they're good. There's some practicality there. But like history, because there's always like the little part about like ancient religions and stuff. So history might not be that on, or there's like a little thing. But I think it was Thorn Mooney, who's a writer and a witch. She's on YouTube. You can find her. Thorn the Witch, maybe she's called, or Thorn Mooney. And she wrote a blog about that, where it was just like, just read a lot and then you'll figure it out. And I'm like, that's really true. And it's the same thing, like you meet a lot, even if you're not a reader, like you meet a lot of people, you go to a lot of classes, or you go to different public groups, because I did that for a long time. And you kind of have to learn through experience, like which works for you, like, because some of it's feeling too,
right?
Like there's a local group it's a national/international organization. They have a local chapter, and I really liked the people. And when I went to a class, I really loved how they explained their ritual structure. And then when I looked on their website, I loved it. And then when I actually went to their ritual in person, it was just like, nope, this isn't for me. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't feed my spirit, whatever that thing is, like.
Do you alter the learning to suit your experience?
Very much so. Like I rarely, it's funny to me, like when people are on like Facebook witch groups that I'm in, and they're like, I need a spell for this. And I'm like, just make one, like get your ingredient, just make it, like, because I'm kind of that way as a cook too. I'm like, I look at the cookbook and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to substitute that. I'm going to leave that step out. So, but you kind of have to know, you need to have a background before you start messing with the recipe a little bit too, I think.
Right. Completely
Just
agree.
like with any art form, right? Like music or dance or whatever. You can't be Martha Graham at the beginning. Like you have to know what rules to break before you become a choreographer like that, because you have to understand the structure before you turn it upside down, kind of, I guess.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay. The chat are not really blowing up, but that's good. Drew said that my addiction now is learning and exploration. Just Drew. Okay.
Oh, I do want to say too, because I don't want anyone to feel like they can't ask me questions or do something ever. Because the tagline on my podcast is advanced witchcraft, and I just talked about legitimacy. Like, that's all about me and my ego. That's not about what's right. So like, I never want someone to feel like, oh, I'm just a basic witch. I'm a baby witch. I don't know. I can't talk to you, or I can't ask you a question, or I'm not an expert. Like, I don't like that at all. So I just want people to know that, you know, like, feel free to reach out and ask questions and whatever. Like, the legitimacy thing isn't about me judging other people. It's about me like feeling like I've fulfilled some sort of requirement for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's very easy to talk to. I've talked to her many, many times. And yeah, just DM her on Instagram, Stella Speaks. She'll be right there.
I will help you. And if I don't know the answer, I am a sort of a librarian of sorts. Like I will find the answer. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer.
A sexy librarian.
Oh, stop.
A sexy librarian. Okay, what else do you want to talk about? Is there any other talking point?
So we already talked about designer drugs. Something to take the edge off. Oh, the end where she says maybe all men are a drug, not just the one in their 20s. And I was like, I think that's kind of true. Like, romantic love is addictive. Like, it does light up certain things in your brain.
Which is so interesting. Is it a learned thing? Because of Hollywood movie, because of romantic novels. Like, is it a learned thing? Like, without those, you know, or is it like systematically, biologically, when that happens, there's something within us we're like, ooh.
I think that's really interesting. Like, because there's no way to know, because we can't divorce ourselves from culture, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. Like, I think about that with Sex and the City. Like, how much of Charlotte really wants to be coupled up, and how much of, like, if she was just raised to think like your choices are your choices, you get married or not, or do this or not, or whatever, didn't feel that like thing, like she's like that other episode where she wants to be in the sorority of marriage, right?
Right.
I think that was the last episode we watched. So like, if she wasn't raised like that, if she was raised in a culture that didn't value that, what would she be like? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. If Samantha was raised in a culture where she felt like supported and she could be powerful and tender at the same time, and she didn't have to choose or do one, you know, would she pursue things the way that she does? You know? So I don't know.
The only thing that I can say about my personal experience is the biological reaction from having sex. Yes, there's an addiction. There's a adrenaline. There's like a dopamine or whatever.
Right,
like,
whatever, yeah.
It does make me feel like happier after sex, right? But then the routine of sleeping with so many different guys over and over again to search for that happiness, leading to the disappointment of I don't have romantic love. So that drop is heavier than the high.
Gotcha.
And that's where I need to find the balance of like, it needs to equal out. You can't just lead with everyone to chase for that high constantly.
Right. And I think there's something too, like, I love love. I'm a romantic. I like to be in partnerships. But I think there's something to be said. I think it's later in some other season, but this isn't a spoiler, where she talks about, I think it's Charlotte suggests that they be each other's soulmates.
Oh. Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. And I have some very close friendships that I treasure in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And emotional, you know, and it's like that. I think that needs to be more culturally valued, your friendships, because I feel like it's your, you know, your romantic relationships are like number one in your life, especially, I mean, if it's a serious partnership, right? Like a marriage or like something close, right? That's supposed to be your number one. That's your person, right? And then it's like your family is second because that's your blood or the people who raised you if you're adopted or whatever, right? That's number 2. Close, right? And then there's the tension there. And then like your friendships are like third. Maybe I'll see my friends. Like maybe I'll have a girls' night once a month. Maybe we'll, do this, whatever. And it's like, I understand that. And we do have to, make choices, and we only have so many hours in a day. And this is a single childless person talking. But like, I think about the people who are really there for me. Like really there for me, it's my friends. Right? Because there isn't that same weight of the family expectations. Right?
And they can think logically without the emotional attach.
Right. And they are there totally by choice.
No obligation whatsoever.
They have no obligation to me at all. Like there's no piece of paper, there's no societal expectation that we have to be friends forever or that we needed to be friends in the first place. It's like, how did I even acquire this human? I just was like, I like hanging out with this one. Let's spend time together. I don't know. It's like the purest relationship. It's like, well, that's a good one. Hang out with me, And then like you think about with your romantic relationships, like I've been a witness to yours and you've been a witness to mine. And we're still here, and we're all these other people.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the episode. We are still... What have we learned? Nothing. That's why
we have more questions than when we started. I
couldn't help myself but wonder, what are we doing here?
What are we doing? Okay, we have to do cleanse, hex, bless. The people are expecting it. So we're going a tiny touch over time, but it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. So it's the same game as Mary, F, or kill. Cleanse is F. Bless is Mary. And hex is kill. What are your top 3 choices?
I chose... Okay, this one, I forget his name in the episode. We didn't really talk about him. Okay, so you remember his nickname was Mr. Marvelous. I think maybe his name was John, but I forget. So when Carrie goes for drinks with Mr. Big, and she's like, oh, it's just the 2 of us. And he's like, well, actually, my friend called. And he's the one who's like, there's that cute girl. I'm going to go talk to her. That guy. So that's Mr. Marvelous.
Okay.
And then I chose Sam, who is, the young guy, the guy with the roommate that Carrie has the fling with. And then I chose Brian, who's dating Charlotte and had a rather specific request.
Up the butt.
Of that, yes, indeed. So those are my 3.
I feel like I don't know like what I should choose based on what is doable for the game or actually based on the episode. You know what I'm saying? The only person that I have, I'm choosing quite.
Ooh.
My choices is Mr. Big, Sam, the tongue ring 20-something guy,
right?
Miss Carrie.
Carrie herself. Oh my gosh.
I mean, we have bisexuality here as we talk right now. Why not? Right?
Why not? All right. We'll mix it around. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
What is yours?
From yours?
Yeah. You answer mine first. If you have to hack, bless, and cleanse, Sam, Mr. Big, or Carrie, what is your choices?
Okay. I feel like Carrie and I are too similar. That will just be a mess. There will be so much hair in the tub drain, and I don't know if I also want to date someone who's also a writer, who's also neurotic, who also loves spending money and drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. Like I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't know. I think Carrie is too much like me because I always think of Mary first. So I'm like, I think that would be a disaster. And then Mr. Big. So it comes down to, would I marry Mr. Big versus the 20-year-old guy? Oof. Oh,
It's
all right.
the decision.
This is a hard one. So then I'm gonna have to think, who would I want to kill? Who am I gonna hex? Who's gonna be the worst one? Who needs to go? Okay. All right. There. So this helps me. So I'm gonna hex Big because he's just full of a bunch of nonsense in this episode, and I think Big, and at least in this episode and from what we've seen so far, he wants what he can't have. So when Carrie's there, he doesn't want to be there. When she's walking away, then he's like, "Oh, let's please go on a date." So yeah, I'm gonna kill Mr. Big, hex Mr. Big. So then now it's between Carrie and Sam. All right, I have to have some sort of standard of living. So I'm gonna cleanse Sam, and I'm gonna marry Carrie. It's gonna be a wacky ride, but hey, we will have.
It will be so much hair.
I wonder what shoe size she is. She's probably shorter than me, so.
She's probably she's shorter than you.
If only we could share shoes.
Oh my God, so much hair. So much hair. It will be so much curly hair everywhere. It will be
so much hair.
Your wedding photos, you have to stand 6 feet apart because your hair will be 6 feet apart.
Take up all the space.
Okay, so I'm gonna do yours. What is yours again?
So I had my handwriting's terrible on this one, but so we have Mr. Marvelous, Sam, and Brian.
Oh, this is tough. Mr. Marvelous is which one is Mr. Marvelous?
That was the one who's going through, maybe he's going through a breakup and he called Big crying.
Oh yeah. And then
he ends up with that woman at brunch.
Yeah.
And then Sam, the tongue ring guy. And then Brian, Mr. Looks, Manners, Money.
Very easy for me. I'm gonna hack Mr. Marvelous.
Right.
Irrelevant. Who are you? Why are you there? You fucked up my date. Hacks you. Goodbye. Never come into the relationship space whatsoever. Boop.
Okay.
I would bless the up the butt guy. I would blast up the butt because
there we go.
What else is there for me? If not, I mean, is up the butt. Oh my God. I cannot believe I'm saying this publicly on air on my channel. I choose the up the butt guy.
All right.
And I will be the up the butt guy. And I married the up the butt guy. Everything is about up the butt. It's not on the cusp tarot anymore. It's up the butt tarot. It's literally up the butt.
And now we have our pull quote for this episode. It's not on the cusp tarot.
Bum. Oh my God. And then of course I will cleanse Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam
needs a literal cleanse. That apartment needs holy water, a Dyson, Swiffer.
And my Capricorn will be like, we are not gonna have sex anymore. Let's put those dishes in the dishwasher.
Did you see that there was hot sauce on the nightstand? I was looking, I was like, is that hot sauce on the nightstand?
Oh my God.
We're like, oh goodness.
But it is what it is. It is what it is. So that's my choice. I will Sam, blast Mr. Up the Butt, and I will hack Mr.
Marvelous.
Crazy. I think that's it. An hour and 8 minutes. We didn't go over too long.
That's not too much. That's not too far.
Thank you so much. You all are amazing. For those who have come here and listen and chat along, thank you for all the fun thing. Let us know in the comment if you want to do more interaction with you all in the chat. Do you want to do Q&A? Do you want to do more questions that you can answer? What do you want this format to kind of evolve in? That will be fun, right?
Yeah, we would love to know more. So yeah.
So remember to subscribe to Stella Speaks podcast and up the
on the cusp on the cusp tarot. On the cusp. We're not changing that.
Do not search for up the butt tarot.
Up the butt tarot. You're gonna find some things you don't want to see.
Oh my God! Maybe I should do an OnlyFans, and that will. My OnlyFans will be up the butt tarot. Thank you. Up the butt tarot. Awakening moment. It was truly an awakening.
That was our awakening. That was the awakening of the day.
Thank you so much for watching. Love you all. We'll see you next week.
Blessed be, bitches. See you next week.
Blessed be. And bye.